Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé bears all. Let's watch.
That you cheated on him, and you've said that he cheated on you. He said that you guys were on a break. So you are sure, you are 100% certain that you two had not broken up when Tom was with this other woman?
No, we were talking again, you know.
Yeah, this happens a lot on the show, and I wonder if it happens more lately because of texting and social media and whatnot. That it, back in the day before cell phones and that sort of thing, when you broke up with someone or you were taking a break, you only had two ways to communicate with someone, either in person or on the phone. You had to call them. And you couldn't just send a quick text like "you up" or "how you doing" or that sort of thing, checking in. To check in with an ex, it's much easier to do that now than it would be in the past. In the past, you'd actually have to put in a lot more effort. And I wonder if those on the show, and I guess maybe people, let me know in the comments if this is a thing, that the breakups are not well defined a lot of the time. It certainly happens on the show a lot, where one person is like, well, I'm dating other people because we've broken up. And the other person is like, you're dating other people, you're cheating on me. It just happens a lot. And now, I'm not saying in the past people were good at communicating about things, because they certainly weren't. But I think that the fact that you had to actually call someone meant that if you didn't get a call, or you called someone, left a message on their voicemail, their answering machine, and they didn't call you back, then you just took the hint. After a couple weeks of them not calling you or being in person with you, you're just like, oh, that last conversation we had, that must have been a breakup conversation. I'm just taking a guess there. Whereas today, I think what's happening a lot of times is there's a conversation or a fight, probably more likely, like with Evelyn and Corey. There's a huge fight, a blow up. People say things, a lot of things, and there's a separation physically. And one person is like, okay, I guess we're done. And the other person is like, well, it was a fight and we said a lot of things, but surely, they'll come back or whatever. Or it's just, we're taking a breather. How can we, and it's an interesting question, say you have a style of relationship like Evelyn and Corey, where there are big conflicts and big fights, and then there's a separation, and there's a lot of things that are said during the fight, like I want a divorce or we're done. And there's a break where get out of my house, I don't want to see you for a while. Corey and Evelyn separate, and then a couple days later they come back together and they make up and they move on with their life. During those 2 days that they didn't see each other, were they broken up? If you have that frequently, and then you have it for the 12th time, and it's for a month, even though it's longer than the typical 2 days apart, is it actually broken up? When in the past you talked about divorce and maybe even said, I want a divorce, but it wasn't actually established that was a level-headed statement, And what I always say is, before you start dating someone else, how about you just send a text it just doesn't take much. I mean, at best, you would have an in-person long-term conversation with them about this, but, at the very least, just be like, so I just want to, establish that because of our last conversation, we have broken up, and it's ethically okay for us both to start dating other people because we broke up. And then if the other person's like, wait, what? Then you can say, well, I guess I have to affirm that I did break up with you. So we have to have a conversation. Just make sure if there's any kind of ambiguity, and clearly there are in a lot of these situations. So for Tom, he thought that they had broken up. And for Darcey, she thought that they hadn't broken up. Who's right, who's wrong? I imagine it's a real fuzzy zone there.
Did he get on one knee?
No, he was in a chair.
He was just in a chair.
We were all jumping at a table, and he started opening up and was like, I really love you.
Yeah.
He just pretty much said, will you marry me?
Yeah.
And obviously.
Okay, so it's interesting to hear about this because they never referred to it when it happened on the show, and the characters never referred to it. according to Darcey and Stacey, they're saying that Tom proposed back when they were in Albania off camera when they were at dinner. And Darcey is saying he pretty much said, let's get married. What does that mean? Does that, and now Darcey and Stacey are both attesting to this, but who knows? But I kind of believe him. I could imagine, especially back then, Tom was very much into Darcey seemingly and might have proposed. Does that mean that they weren't on a break? No, they could have been engaged, and then through all their fighting and through statements said by both people that were done, that could have led Tom to believe that they were done. Now, I'm reminded of my hypothesis about Tom, that due to his upbringing, maybe even a dynamic with his older sister, his sister seems quite, shall we say, assertive, that he doesn't really, he's maybe afraid of conflict and also might not know who he is and what he wants. I remember that hypothesis that he's kind of just drifting in the wind, like a leaf in the wind, and he does what other people want him to do. And so, but at the same time, he has his own needs and his own complaints. And so Darcey wanted to be with him. And so he just went along with it without necessarily evaluating it, particularly as things started to get bad. They were taking a break, but maybe not a definitive break. He goes on a business trip. He meets another woman. She wants to be with him. And without thinking, well, wait, what's the bigger picture here? He's just like, well, someone right in front of me wants to be with me. And so that's all that matters to me. I don't have a bigger picture viewpoint on what's happening, the landscape. How will Darcey receive this? This woman wants me. And I think that Tom, as all of us, I suppose, is desperate for love and attention and security. He even mentioned that, I think, in one of these Bears All episodes. So we could see a scenario where this woman comes along and starts to treat him well enough, and he's just like, whoa, this feels so good. And he just didn't want to think about anything else, and maybe thought in his head like, well, I'm pretty sure we're on a break. Who knows?
Ex-girlfriends or...
Yes, she contacted them. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff.
Like what?
Like she was dating me while still dating with Tom.
All right, so it looks like Darcey and Stacey are seeing this scene for the first time, and what I would hope, but I somehow doubt this will happen, is that Darcey and Stacey, but particularly Darcey, will look at this scene and say, when Georgie talked to my ex, Georgie actually defended me and gave me the benefit of the doubt. When Jesse started talking crap about me, Georgie actually said, nah, I don't know about that. Wow, what a nice guy, and what a caring person, what a loyal partner. As opposed to when I talked to Octavia, and when Georgie's ex said anything negative, not only was I like, yep, knew it, absolutely, I'm just gonna take your word for, as I said during that episode, how many of your exes, just do a mental, even the ones that you only dated for a certain, short amount of time, if you got them all in a room and you took a poll on whether or not you as the the central person in all those relationships were seen as like all good, by a raise of hands, how many of you think that all your partners would say, they are the best, as opposed to at least some of the people in that crowd going like, no, my ex is terrible, and us on in this crowd of people over here, we all agree that. So anyway, my point is that it shouldn't be surprising that Georgie, as along with all of us, has an ex that doesn't see Georgie in a positive light. So I hope that Darcey can look now, as I've been saying from the beginning, I don't know the real relationship between Georgie and Darcey, but it just looked like there was a distortion by Darcey and Stacey and all of their friends that did not seem to apply. But anyway, so let's see how Darcey reacts to this scene.
Same thing with Tom. She portrayed to us that we were the only ones, and we realized like not only that we were manipulated or cheated on at the same time, but also we were being played.
So they didn't get to see Georgie's hopefully they'll show them how Georgie actually right after that said, I don't know, I think you're lying. And I don't think I really took in what Jesse was saying there at the time. I'd love to hear the evidence of what Jesse is saying, but it's a pretty fantastical claim that Darcey was dating multiple people at the same time, Jesse, Tom, and others, while being filmed on the show, and was manipulative and playing everyone. I mean, do we really think that happened? I mean, it could. Obviously, Jesse would know better than we would, but where's the data?
And Tom at the same time.
I think he's trying to manipulate himself because I never cheated on anybody in my life. And Justin and I were already broken up when Tom and I recommunicated, because I had known Tom for years prior to even knowing Jesse. We just had never met in person.
So you guys were friends. You and Tom were just friends long before you met Jesse.
We met on social media when I lived in LA before.
Now, is it possible that Jesse is pointing toward data that he believes points to Darcey flirting with Tom during their relationship, during Jesse and Darcey's relationship? Maybe. She's saying that she was friends with Tom, and we'll take her word for that. But we could see a scenario where she and Tom had been flirting online for many years. It wouldn't be surprising given the fact that as soon as Jesse was done, they, accelerated into an in-person romantic relationship. But who knows? Do we believe Darcey or do we believe Jesse? I guess that's the question. Or do we not believe either? All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.